Hello and welcome back to the Oxbridge Formula. Today we're blessed to have Hannah joining us. Hi.
Hi.
And without further ado, we're going to be giving you an insight into what it's like to live at Churchill College in Cambridge. So, how are you doing? Let's get to know you. What do you study at Churchill, and for how long have you been there?
So I've just finished my first year. I study MML, which is Modern Medieval Languages, and my languages are French and Spanish, both post A-level.
Lovely. And so that's quite a broad subject then. Were there many colleges you could choose from? And if so, then why were you drawn to Churchill in particular?
Actually, this is such a great question to start with because I actually didn't choose Churchill. So when I originally applied, I chose Corpus Christi, which is very close to, I guess, the lecture theatre in the centre of the town. And I actually chose it because I did an essay competition there and I received some great feedback. I really liked the whole process and I thought that was a really great college for me. And then afterwards it must have been like January 14th, I got my email confirming my place, but it was from Churchill. And I never even heard of Churchill College before. I hadn't looked around any other colleges. I was so set on Corpus and I literally fell in love with it. As soon as I started researching it, I realized it fit so well with me. The motto being like forward, it's the first college to admit women. I did the International Baccalaureate, so I also studied maths and science, and there's so many STEM students at Churchill, so it was a really great, I think it just really embodied me as a person, and I think it's just a great way of, like, no matter what college you end up at, whether you applied there or whether you get pooled there, it will be the perfect college for you, and it will just be the best college for you, and you'll think that it's the best out of all the Oxbridge colleges, and you'll be right for yourself, because I can safely say I can't imagine myself happy at any other college. I absolutely love Churchill.
Oh, well, I'm so happy that had a happy ending as such for you. I know that I had a similar experience as well, in that the place that I wanted to interview at Oxford, they were way too oversubscribed to take me. So I ended up interviewing at somewhere completely different that they allocated me to, Somerville. And actually, I'm so grateful that I ended up there, because I'm not sure my judgment was that great when I chose my original college. So
yeah, it's amazing how it works out. Like, I think that lots of my friends had very similar experiences, and now we can't imagine being at another college. I can't imagine myself not being at Churchill because it just suits who I am as a person, my lifestyle, what I'm really interested in. So yeah.
That's really cool. So for what reasons kind of did you pick like Corpus to begin with, and would that have like made your life any different at Cambridge?
I think that I was just initially drawn to them because doing the essay competition, I just loved the whole process, and that was my first experience of Cambridge. So I had such a positive connotation to the college. And then when I went there, when I visited Cambridge, I loved Corpus because I had that already kind of initial connection to it. It's a beautiful college. And to be honest though, every single Cambridge college is gorgeous in its own way, and I think that there are so many advantages to each of them. So I think that I wasn't wrong to apply to Corpus because it made sense for who I was at the time and where I wanted to go. But I definitely don't think choosing a college is as big a deal as I thought it was. I think it's such a misconception that your college will determine your entire university experience and be kind of dependent on your happiness at Cambridge. And Oxford, I guess, is the same. It's definitely not true at all. Wherever you end up, you'll be an MML student at Corpus or at Churchill. It's the same course, it's the same experience. It's just with different people and with a different, accommodation and lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're totally correct. And a lot of people tend to say the same kind of thing once they are at either Oxford or Cambridge. But you said about Churchill kind of matching up to who you are as a person. I found that really interesting. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit for maybe someone who's not so sure if they're going to fit in when moving into Cambridge?
I think definitely at Cambridge, I was so worried about going back to an environment where you have to make friends. I hadn't done that since I was probably 14 and going into secondary school. I hadn't properly made friends, and that was a huge I guess, fear for me, that whole process of like introducing yourself and making new friends. All the friends I had from home, I've known since I was very little. But then as soon as I arrived at Churchill, everything just fell into place. Everyone was so friendly. I really felt a community at college. The accommodation, so the buildings itself, I know we can talk about this later, but initially it's very purpose built. So everything is set out and laid out in I guess the most convenient way. All of the common rooms are really close together. The dining room is upstairs above the bar. So all of the social areas are in one area. Then you have the libraries in another area. And then the courts surround almost the whole campus. And I think Churchill in itself does feel very campusy, which I really like. There's so much space. And also another thing, if anyone plays a lot of sports or really likes open space, is the grounds at Churchill. We're so lucky we have the most playing fields, I think, of the colleges. And it's amazing waking up. I play football, I play lacrosse, and waking up on a Saturday morning, I can have a slight lay-in for my 11 a.m. match and literally just walk out of my room and the pitch is there, it's all set up, I'm all ready to go. And I think having that space can also really, it's just for your well-being as well, can make such a difference. The library, there are views overlooking the grounds. If I'm ever feeling, I think, slightly overwhelmed by an essay, or I feel like I need to just stop and take a break, you can just go on a walk and it's literally outside your door. There are very few tourists. You really have your own space. And we play a lot of sport as well. So hopefully next term, we're going to start playing rounders every weekend, having some tennis tournaments. And I think the whole atmosphere is very inclusive. Also, irrespective of year, at school I had lots of friends in different years. I never felt that I was only confined to those who were the same age as me. And at Churchill, I'm sure it's the same at lots of other colleges as well, there's a real relationship between people of different years. So when we first came, we went out with the second years, and the relationship you have with your college parents, I think, is really strong. You meet their friends, they meet your friends. I never felt uncomfortable sitting at lunch with second years or with third years. And I think that's a really nice aspect of university generally, but definitely in a college, because you have the opportunity to meet so many more people. You have, I guess, an identity at the university. And I think that's such an amazing and unique thing about Oxbridge. And obviously it's similar at lots of other universities as well, but I've definitely found my home away from home at Churchill.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I find it really interesting that you say about it being irrespective of year groups, because I think that can vary a bit from college to college, how much or little there is kind of a separation like that. Maybe it varies year to year. But like, what was put on maybe in your Freshers Week? I know that's a big one for making friends, as you say, and socialising. What was put on to kind of encourage that?
Wow, it's so weird to think that was a year ago. I think terms at university, they seem, especially Oxbridge being only 8 weeks, you think that they're so short, but it feels like a lifetime within every individual term. So many things happen. But thinking back to Freshers Week, there were so many events organised before we even arrived. So if you haven't heard of the term JCR, like, to anyone who's watching, I completely understand that. I never heard of the JCR before I arrived. But basically the JCR is just all of the undergraduates. So when you come, you'll be part of your college's JCR. And they're responsible for student welfare, domestic services. Basically, if you have a problem, you can always go to someone on the JCR instead of your tutor. And they're just another point of call, someone to make sure that you really enjoy your experience at Cambridge. So the JCR had set up Facebook groups before we arrived. They'd send us photos of the rooms at Churchill so we could have an idea of what we be going into. It would be a great experience to also meet other people. And because everyone on the JCR has an individual role, it was already something to start a conversation about, asking why they wanted the role, what they really did. And then when we arrived, I think actually the first talk we had was from the JCR, introducing themselves. They all wore matching t-shirts, which I loved because they were so easy to spot and so friendly. And then the first night we had dinner with our college parents, who of course we already knew, which was really lovely, and our college siblings. I also just think that the college family aspect is so important. I think it's instrumental in just making everyone feel so comfortable when they arrive. You already know 4 or 5 people in your family. It means that before you even arrive, you've made some friends. So going into it, it's a great way of, I guess, developing a relationship with the year above, because you can ask them questions really informally. You can have dinner with them, go out with them. It's just such a wonderful experience and opportunity. So I really like that whole idea of college families. But yeah, on the first night we had dinner with them. Then there was an opportunity to either go out on a pub crawl, which my family chose to do, or they were also running games nights in the JCR. And then I think that was the first night. So then over the course of the week, we had various talks. There was always socializing opportunities in the Buttery, which is like our student bar area. And then it's so difficult to remember because it was so long ago. We also had something called a freshers squash, which is when you have societies at your college and you go around and you talk to them. So that's when I signed up for college lacrosse, which was really exciting because I hadn't done college lacrosse since I was about 9 years old. So picking up a lacrosse stick again was just second nature, I guess, eventually. But I think there are so many opportunities to make friends in Freshers Week. But also what I'd say is, don't feel too much pressure to make your friends for life in Freshers Week. Sometimes the people you meet in Freshers Week will end up being your friends for the next 4 years. Sometimes they won't. I found that lots of people I met in Freshers Week a year on were still just as close, but there were still lots of people who I didn't get a chance to talk to in Freshers Week, and now we're really close. So I think go into it, attack it, meet so many new people, but also don't worry if after the week you don't feel like you've met, your friends for life, because there are so many more people at Cambridge and Oxford to meet as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there is like a danger with all of this going on and like all that your college are doing, that you can maybe set really, really high demands for yourself and try just like a little bit too hard. I find it really interesting that you say about you knew your college family before, because I hadn't really managed to reach out to one of my siblings until I actually arrived in college. So what did your family do to reach out to you before you moved into Churchill?
Yeah, so actually I'm really good at all these questions regarding like incoming freshers, because I'm also the president of the JCR for like this coming year. So I know a lot about all the things that Churchill specifically is doing to really help create these friendships before we arrive. So basically, we've already filled out the forms for second year parents. So it does seem really crazy before you arrive at Cambridge that people get college married and have college children. I found it very kind of unsettling to start with. I couldn't really understand how it works, but you just have to kind of accept it, and then you understand why it's so important. So you get college married to one of your friends, and then with that friend you have like children who I guess are just a couple of freshers, and will always match you with someone who does your subject. So if you do history, one of your parents will be a historian. If you do Natski, one of your parents will be studying Natski. So there's always that connection of subject, which I really like. So basically how we do it at Churchill is that we fill out the form and saying like our subject, our sports, what we like to do, and then that's all collected in a database. Then when the freshers are confirmed as students, they fill out the same form. You say about what you enjoy. So if you like sports, for example, I put down football, I put down lacrosse, I put down, I wanted to try out some rugby as well, so that went on my form. And then the welfare officers in the JCR will match you up. So I ended up having a mum who also did French and Spanish, who liked the same kind of music as me, who also liked to travel. And I also had a college father who was on the JCR because I expressed that that was something I was really interested in. And I think that the whole process of, just being matched up means that you do get people with similar experiences to you. And I really liked that as well, specifically. And then when so before you come, your college parents are encouraged to get in contact with you. You provide an email, and then I got a message, I think 2 weeks later, from my college dad. It was the most wonderful email, and I still have it in my inbox. I will always save it because it was saying like an adoption form for my college children. And then following on from that, we all introduced ourselves, said where we're from, what sports we do, what things really interest us. And then afterwards, we set up a WhatsApp chat really quickly. So that meant that every day or every few days we were able to chat to our college parents. We talked everything from Spotify playlists to concerts to traveling to everything. And I'm really hopeful, and I have faith in our current college parents that are becoming parents this year to also contact their college children. I'm also encouraging people to do some video calls because I think that would be a really nice way of also meeting people in a different way.
That's so sweet and really nice that you could have those people and already feel like you had them there for you before you're even like moving in and trying to, you know, make friends, and to have those familiar faces must have been really lovely. Can you remember perhaps who was the first person who you kind of really met when you did arrive in person?
Yeah, so actually it was my next door neighbour. So when I arrived with my family, his name was Adam and he does mathematics. And when I arrived, he opened up his door because he must have heard me and my family carrying up all my luggage to my room. And he came out of his room and introduced himself. And it was just so nice to have someone next door who I really knew and got on with. And then the whole of Michaelmas term, Adam and I ended up getting breakfast every morning together. We'd wake up at 8, sometimes 8:30 if we were quite tired, and we'd go and get breakfast together in hall, which was so great because it was really nice having someone you were so close to just next door. So if I ever needed anything, or I just wanted someone to chat to and have a cup of tea or hot chocolate with, it was really nice to have someone there. So I definitely think that, yeah, just introduce yourself to so many different people, because you never know when you're going to make a friend that you're going to have for so long.
Yeah, and it's cool that he did maths. That is something that I've heard about Churchill. I don't know much myself, but I have heard that it's quite a STEM, you know, it's quite popular for STEM students. I think there's a lot of them out there. So as like a humanities student, how much do you think that has kind of impacted on your kind of social life at the college?
It's such a good question, because obviously at Churchill, the founder said that we have to have 70% STEM students. So that's kind of a given. So you're obviously going to be around lots of scientists, lots of mathematicians. But to be honest, I've never felt less of a Churchillian because I do humanities, and I've never felt that there weren't enough of us humanities students. I think that potentially it also comes down to contact hours, because humanities students have less contact hours. We're often at college slightly more than the science students, so we spend a lot of time together. But I really like how at dinner we can all sit in a huge group on a table, and I'll have someone next to me who's studying physics, and then someone opposite me who's reading, I don't know, geography. And it's just really nice to hear about other people's experience of Cambridge, their courses, what they're interested in. I think it provides a huge amount of diversity of thought, and it's also meant that although I'm in like a little MML world when I'm in my faculty, I come back to Churchill and I'm really able to just be at Cambridge, not necessarily just be a language student. And also I think having the sports grounds on site, having so many different sports facilities. We have a gym, we have squash courts. We're currently building converting one of the squash courts into a dance studio for yoga. Like, all of the students, irrespective of STEM or humanities, they all have different interests, and there'll be people on the cross team who I've met who do chemistry or physics, and I wouldn't have necessarily met them through my subject, but having that college aspect to Oxbridge means that you meet people who don't do the same thing as you, who study a completely different discipline, and you find connections between yourselves, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I can see how that would appeal to some people out there. And on, I don't know, say a Saturday when the mathematicians have gone out to their lectures and you can think, we don't have to do that. What do you enjoy doing around college the most when you're not in your faculty?
I think on a Saturday, Saturday is a brunch day at Churchill, so we'll all wake up and it'll probably be about 10:30 or 11. We have a huge year group chat, and someone will say, like, the night before, brunch at 10:30, and a million people will have thumbs up the message. So we'll all arrive, sometimes in our pajamas, sometimes ready to play some sports, and we'll have brunch together, chat about the week. And then on Saturdays, I really like, so I play a lot of sports. So I do lacrosse matches normally on a Saturday morning. And then if not, I like to sometimes just go on a run or a walk around the town. And then in the afternoons, I love to do like a little bit of work. So I'll normally go to the library with one of my friends. And I think that if you're someone like me who loves working in the library, there are so many great places to study in Cambridge. We have like college libraries themselves, but then we also have the university library, which is just an incredible place to work. And then you also have faculty libraries. So I occasionally go into the history library with one of my history friends, because the history library at Cambridge is just one of my favorites. It has like a huge glass ceiling. It's so light. It's so wonderful to work there. But then I also think the evenings, especially at the weekends, are just reserved for friends. So we'll either all have dinner together, or we'll go make pasta in someone's kitchen. We'll watch a film. There's so many different things on, especially with, I think, being at university, but also having like a JCR common room with pool tables and table tennis, a TV room. There are so many things that we can just arrange amongst ourselves. And I've really liked that freedom, but also I never went to boarding school. So it's really nice living with friends, like having friends around. I live in the middle of nowhere on a farm at home, and I can't see any of my friends without I have a car, so I drive to my friends, or I have to get my parents to drop me off when I was younger. But I think being at university, having friends literally next door in my case, or the furthest one was about a 2.5-minute walk away in college, it's such a nice opportunity to meet new people. And I think at Cambridge as well, and Oxford, there's a misconception that you will have no time to study. And of course, studying is a huge part of the universities, and hopefully because you're there, you'll actually want to study and really enjoy, your course. But I also think that definitely don't cut yourself off from sports, from socializing. If you want to do theatre, there are so many amazing roles available. You can direct, script write. There are so many different things to do. And if you want to play a university sport, you can, it's all available. In first year, I did 4 or 5 different extracurricular activities. And although looking back, it was quite a lot, I was always very busy. I wouldn't change anything. I absolutely loved it. And I also got to try out lots of different things. I took an Italian course. There are language courses to learn, no matter your level. So if you've done French at GCSE, you want to start it again, you can continue French or A-level, or even if you want to just pick up Mandarin or Russian, that's something that's really available to you. So I did Italian. I sung in a gospel choir, which I absolutely loved. And then I obviously ran for the JCR. So that was, took up kind of a huge part of looking back, my memories of first year, and then played in the lacrosse team as well. So definitely don't think that when you get here, you'll have no time to do what you love. Just as long as it's things that you love, you'll always be able to make time for it. So don't worry.
That's a really wholesome piece of advice. Thank you. And I can relate to the feeling of just really enjoying being in the thick of it all. And as you say, not having to worry about planning logistics of going to see your friends or getting to that, because sometimes when you're in home life, that can become a really big part, and it's just removed from your social life when you move into a Cambridge college or an Oxford college. So I know Churchill isn't one of the most central places. How far actually is it from kind of your faculty and the main places you need to go?
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that Churchill students get asked a lot. The phrase, "it's so far," has been repeated to me on so many occasions, but it's actually not far at all. On a bike, if you want to get into literally the centre of town, it will take you, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes if you want to kind of take a bit of a scenic route. To the faculty, it takes me 5 minutes, and I'm quite a slow cyclist compared to some of my friends who can definitely, go at top speed. Lots of my friends don't even have bikes, and they have never found it difficult to get around. It's maybe a 20-minute walk, 15, 20 minutes to the Humanities faculty. I'm not sure about the science faculties are spread out in a lot of different places, and I know lots of my Natski friends all cycle. But to town, it's like a 15, 20-minute walk. I have never felt that I was so far out. And I also think being slightly away from town is lovely. You're kind of slightly away from the hustle and bustle of tourists and cyclists and students everywhere, it really feels at Churchill like it is home. And I really like either the cycle or the walk back from faculty, because it gives you time just to think and just forget about the lecture that you've just had, or even just start thinking about the essay that you're going to be writing that afternoon. I really like, even if there is, I don't know, a 4-minute cycle difference, like distance, that's, in my opinion, really worth it. And if people are worried about cycling, I definitely was before I came. I never cycled on the road before, and the first day I was absolutely atrocious. I had my helmet on. My mum had bought me a high-vis jacket that I hadn't worn because it was midday and I didn't think I needed it. But it was awful. I couldn't cycle and press the button to cross the road. But like after 2 or 3 trips, it just became a second nature, and your friends will help you along the way. And I know so many people who've actually gotten to Cambridge and had like lessons with their friends, and now I feel so comfortable on a bike. It only takes maybe a few days, and I would definitely say I was an extreme novice, as in, if you have any cycling experience, you will be absolutely fine. The city is made for cyclists and pedestrians. There are always special roads. It's really safe. You can get everyone on bike. In fact, in most cases, it's even easier to get on bike than it would take my parents to drive into the centre of town because of the one-way system of the city. At Churchill specifically as well, we have an on-campus bike store. So if you have any problems with your bike, a punctured tyre, or you just want your brakes checked or a light fitted, you can go to the bike store, which is maybe 50 metres from the entrance of college. It's so close, and the man is so helpful. He'll fix your bike. He can do an MOT as well. And lots of people have asked for their bike lights to be fitted or for their brakes to be checked. Anything you need, it's literally on our doorstep. We also have a huge Sainsbury's that we call Faraway'sbury's in Cambridge. A lot of weird names. I don't know if it's the same in Oxford. We have a lot of names for certain places. And that's only 5-minute cycle away from Churchill. So you have the option of going into the Sainsbury's in the centre of town, or a really beautiful scenic route through the fields across to Sainsbury's.
I know which one I'd prefer, but
Yeah.
So whereabouts then do you actually keep your bike in the college?
So we have bike racks. There's bike storage inside, so if you want to put your bike inside, which I always prefer to do, because if it rains, I never want to sit on a bike in the morning when it's wet. But then there are also places outside, which I'd really recommend if you have a class, you come back for lunch and then you want to go again. It's a lot quicker. But all the bike storages have locks on them. Also, we're hoping to now start fitting them with cards, so it's key card access instead of accommodation. For different accommodation, there's also different areas, so your bike will be very close to wherever you're living. And yeah, there's always space. Even if sometimes you go in and you think there's no space, you'll always be able to find a space. So yeah.
It's interesting you say about keycard access. That was something I first heard from a couple of Newnham students I was talking to last week, and that's quite impressive and also quite reassuring. So where on the college site then, I'm trying to build a picture of it, where did you live in your first year? Is it far from there?
So in Churchill, we have, I guess, 5 courts technically. We have North Court, West Court, East Court, and South Court. So I lived in East Court. So when you walked in, I guess I'm trying to do it the other way around so you'll be able to see on the screen. But if this is the entrance, you'd walk through, turn right. It would be maybe a minute from the entrance, maybe 2 minutes, depending on how much I was carrying to my room. Really close. All the accommodation is, because the college is purpose built, you're never more than a couple minutes away from your friends, even if they live on the opposite court to you. And there's also another court as well called Cowan, which is slightly more expensive. You have a double bed, all ensuite rooms, really just gorgeous rooms. And there's also separate bike locks and like an area to store your bike there as well, which is really good because it means you never have to walk very far from your bike, especially if you're carrying groceries or lots of books from the library.
That sounds really lovely. And so the location doesn't seem to vary too much. As you say, it's a kind of purpose-built, quite modern college, so I guess the planning has been quite convenient. Inside your room, can you paint a picture of that for me?
Yeah, of course. So not only are the rooms Like, not only do you have the opportunity to live on site for all 4 years, which I think is so great, because I know that lots of other colleges have first year accommodation, then second year accommodation, and it can really vary about where you'll be living around Cambridge, which I guess has its advantages because you see different parts of Cambridge. But I love that I live below a fourth year engineer, and we always have a chat in the morning before making our toast. Or all of my second year friends are really not so far away. We're all very close together. But the rooms themselves are really modern. So there's amazing heating. I've been so impressed, even on a November morning. My room feels so toasty, which only makes it more difficult to get out of bed and cycle in the rain to lectures. But the rooms are absolutely lovely. They're really big. They're so spacious. And every room has a window seat, which is very, I guess, authentically Churchill. So you'll have a window seat where I know lots of my friends converted theirs into beds to have sleepovers. Mine is just absolutely covered in cushions. I love to spend the afternoon reading there. And it's such a really nice place to live because you have an opportunity to really decorate your room and make it your own. One of my favorite things about going to university was like being able to decorate my room again. And I searched through Pinterest for, oh my God, months and months picturing this perfect room. And I actually managed to get very close to the, I guess, idyllic version I had in my head. So at Churchill, you're able to actually hang things. We have a bar around the edge of the room where you can pin things up. So it's very easy to put up photographs and frames. Lots of people have movie posters, which I really like. So I was able to bring a lot of photos of my friends from home, my family. Fairy lights are a must, I think, for most university students. And plenty of plants, even though I did kill lots of them after only a week by accident. But I think that the rooms themselves, they're very modern. So even having the wooden floor is just amazing. If you spill something or you need to clean something up, it's so easy, it's so quick. And I really also like just having a slightly more modern room because it's really reflective of my room at home. I never felt like I had to squeeze into kind of a typical, I guess, university room or compromise on space to have a really good location. I think we're so lucky at Churchill that we have both. And also I think the rent is very fairly priced as well. So we have like a basic room, which is still a really good size. Then there's an opportunity to increase the size slightly. Then you have an opportunity to have a bathroom. But even if you share a bathroom, it will be with maybe, I think, 2 or 3 people if you share a bathroom and a shower. So it really isn't that much of a struggle. My friends who shared a bathroom, they never had any fights to get to the shower in the morning or anything. And then obviously having the Cowan Court, which is the slightly more expensive accommodation, and with the double beds and the ensuite, it's a really lovely place to live. And I think that also contributes to the home away from home feeling, because I love my room at college just as much as I love my room at home.
That's so lovely, and I love the sound of the window seat that you have. Yeah. I think I'd do the same and just sit and read there. It sounds lovely. And don't worry about the plant deaths. My first term was a crash course in how to keep plants alive.
Yeah.
We all get there in the end. So I guess the bar is quite high for you then, looking towards choosing a second year room. What kind of main criteria do you have in mind for choosing another room?
Well, I've actually already I've made my choice, so fingers crossed. I guess by the time maybe this goes up, I will have already found out where I'm going to be living next year. But I have actually applied for a Cowan room, which I'm really excited for, because I don't know, I'm just excited to have a double bed. I don't know why. I think just for the space, extra cushions. My bed at uni in first year, I had about 15 cushions, and every night I have to pull them all off the bed. So I'm excited for slightly more space. But also, I think it kind of comes back to everyone living on site. It means that no matter where we choose to live, no matter if you want a room with an ensuite or you just don't think you need one, it doesn't stop you from meeting up with other people or being close to other people, because there are so many. On a staircase, there are rooms with en-suites, there are rooms without en-suites, there are small rooms, there are slightly, well, I guess standard rooms, there are slightly larger rooms. Wherever you live, you'll always be a couple minutes away from like your friends, no matter what. So that's what I really like as well about being so close together.
That's so lovely. And so, I mean, I guess I'm picturing it from my experience, because our accommodation works in kind of like a balloted way, and that it's mostly quite equal, but we get our choice in like a randomized order. How different would you say your process is to that?
I think it's very similar. Obviously, things change now because of COVID, and there's going to be, I'm not really sure exactly how it's going to work. There will be slight differences, but overall, like normal, you just apply for rooms. You don't apply I guess you can apply for specific rooms, but in first year, you just got given a bunch of room names. But basically, they were categorized with, this is a large room, this has an ensuite, it's south-facing, it faces inside the court, outside the court. So I really liked having an outside-facing room because I got to see like the fields, look out over the fields when I did my reading. But then lots of my friends really liked looking in because they made friends with people on the other side of the court and used to kind of wave to each other. And I just think that was a really, really sweet thing to do. But yeah, you just apply to 5 different rooms normally. At least that's how it was when I first came for first year. And then I'm not exactly sure how the algorithm works. I got my first choice room. Lots of my friends did. Some of my friends didn't get any specific rooms they chose, but still a room that matched like a standard ensuite room or something like that. And I think college are very accommodating, but I think also it's the same with colleges. No matter what room you have, you're going to absolutely love it because the people on your staircase will become, you're going to have really great interactions with them. They'll become your friends. And I've not met a single person that doesn't like their room or that doesn't enjoy the staircase they're on or the court they're in, because I think it's the same. Like, no matter where you end up, you're going to absolutely love it, and you'll make your room your own as well.
Yes, no, definitely. And I think, yeah, court views we have an equivalent where you look out over our quad. It can be quite popular, and the fact that you say your friends would like wave and see other people, that's so cute. I love that. So I'm picturing your really cozy room. What is it that would actually draw you to the college library? Where would you go in the college library that's different to that?
So I think the college library, we have like 2 different libraries. So the bottom one is, there's basically one library on top of the other. The bottom library is called the Bracken Library, and it has all the STEM textbooks, or basically any secondary reading you need, it's going to be in that library for the STEM students. And then upstairs is the Bevan Library, which is for arts and humanities students. But no matter what you prefer, you can go into whichever library. I have a medic friend, his name's Harry, and he much prefers the arts and humanities library. He'll come with me and work there. And then I have another friend, Constance, and she really prefers the Bracken Library just because of the lighting, like the layout as well. And sometimes I find myself working in the Bevan Library in the morning, and then after lunch thinking I just need a bit of a change of scenery, so I'll go downstairs and work with some different people. But the libraries are absolutely lovely. I mentioned this before, but the library upstairs, it has comfy chairs that actually look out over the fields. So if I ever have a lot of reading to do, I can grab a blanket from the library, sit in one of the really comfy chairs or sofas, and just think, when I'm thinking about my chapter, I can look out over I guess maybe I get a bit distracted sometimes looking out over the playing field, seeing what's going on. But I absolutely love that. And especially at night as well. I work a lot better in the evenings. Some of my friends love to wake up really early and work, but I find that I'm much more creative at night. And I love going to the library after dinner when it's more quiet. I have a few of my friends around. But I also think just explore when you get here, or you get to Oxford, explore the libraries, because I also love the maths library. I've never, I obviously don't do maths. I did maths when I was at school. But the maths library is a short walk from Churchill, just down the road. And it actually has 4 different levels. And in second term, lots of us ended up going to the maths library just for a bit of a change of scenery. And I think that, yeah, there's so many different places to work. I even ended up one day working in a friend's room with her, and we just had to do an essay, and we thought it was best that we were just together because it meant that we could ask each other questions. It was a bit more relaxed than the kind of, I guess, at that point, intense vibe for that day in the library. And I think that wherever you choose to work, just make sure that you really feel comfortable. So if you feel comfortable working in your own room, I have plenty of friends who work so much better when they're alone. If you're one of those people that likes to say it out loud, your room is perfect for that. And the rooms at Churchill are really soundproof, so don't worry if you have to play music or say things out loud, like that's absolutely fine. But for me, I just loved going to the different libraries. And I think having the change of scenery along with the views of the fields, it just made me so relaxed. It took me away from the chaoticness of the faculty sometimes, or the amount of people in town. And although I sometimes like to go to a cafe and read my book there for the afternoon, there's something about being late at night after dinner and being in the library with some of your friends, and then all taking a coffee break every hour and going to sit in the buttery with your coffee and just chat for a bit and then go back. And that's such a wonderful feeling, and something that I never really experienced at school. I think it's a whole another aspect of being independent and living away from home.
Definitely. And it sounds like you get a real kind of variety of places you can go. And I mean, outside of college or inside of college, I know that your grounds are particularly large compared to some of the other maybe more central places. So when you're sat either in your room or in the library kind of looking out over the playing fields, and if you ever kind of looked at a sports team or just a club and thought, oh, I wish I'd got involved in that, is there anything that maybe second year you want to get involved in?
It's such a perfect question, because just yesterday I decided to join the college mixed netball team. So I have lots of friends who play netball, and I think exists a slight rivalry between the mixed lacrosse and mixed netball. Lots of people play for both teams, and when the matches are at the same time, there's always almost a competition of which team do I play for, where do I go, and things. But I'm really excited. I did netball when I was little. Probably I haven't played since I was about 14, but I'm really excited to get back into that. And I also think like this is such a good rule or idea for second year as well. You don't have to continue with things you did in first year if you find new things that you really like. Don't feel that you are locked into the activities you chose in first year. So I went to gospel choir in first year, but I think in second year I want to do slightly more sport. So I might just go to a few less rehearsals, or just come for the kind of open singing sessions. And yeah, there are just so many different things to do. And if you've never done drama before and you're in your fourth year, you're a fourth year engineer, that doesn't mean that you can't go and be in a play. Like, you don't need any experience or any training to do lots of these things. So if you really just want to do it, I know plenty of friends who are planning on starting lacrosse next year, and I'm really excited for that, because it will also, you'll make new friends because you'll get to teach people who are joining your club, but you'll get to be taught by people who are already there. And I guess like there's a whole element of like showing people the ropes as well, which I'm really excited for.
Oh, that's so great, and so nice to know that it doesn't all depend on like you signing up for everything as soon as you get to your college.
Exactly,
that there is
yeah.
that freedom of movement, I think would really appeal to some people like me who can be quite indecisive.
Yeah, no, definitely. I decided 3 weeks in that I wanted to take Italian. I hadn't even planned to take Italian. It was just on a whim. One of my friends said, why don't we just do another language? Like, what's stopping us? So you also, if you want to just come to one lacrosse match, we had girls who just joined for one match and then they loved it, or some of them thought, actually, I don't think this is for me, I'm going to try out something different. There is no commitment with lots of the extracurricular activities. With I think basically all of them, you can come for a session, see if you like it. And my advice would be in Michaelmas to sign up to as many things as you want. I signed up to about 20 co-curriculars. I got loads of emails, and then through going to the societies there where I found the different activities, I then found stuff that I really wanted to do. So I think just by throwing yourself in, signing up for so many different activities, you'll then end up finding ones that you really like. But please don't feel that as soon as you put your email on a sign-up sheet, that means you are locked in for the next 3 years of, I don't know, film society or something like that. It is very relaxed at Cambridge and Oxford, I presume, as well.
Yeah, or at least I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
But I can imagine now that perhaps your biggest commitment out of all of these is actually being the JCR president, which is a very big and admirable role. So at what point did you start to consider that? Or did you always know?
No, it was such a whim, and all my friends will tell you it was the night before basically they had an opening for president and vice president of the JCR, and we'd always had a joke in our friendship group and in our year that this guy Abel should be president. it was like an inside joke, like Abel for president. But we all knew that there was no way he'd actually run, because we all thought the positions were reserved for like second and third years. And then it got to the night before the applications closed, and I was talking to the president, who I become friends with through Freshers Week, because he ran lots of the activities. He was friends with my college dad, who's on the JCR, and he was chatting, and he was like, oh, there's hardly anyone running. And I was like, just be so funny if we just ran. And he was like, you should actually do it. And I was like, no way, like, honestly, I just don't think I'm good enough. I don't even know what we could do. And then I just thought, you know what, like, this is probably one of those experiences in life where you have an opportunity to make a decision and you just have to go for it. So I found Able. It was probably like 11 p.m. and the applications were like basically due like the next day. And we spoke about it and we were like, let's just do it. Let's just run. And so we stayed up so late. We texted the year group chat saying, Able and Hannah are running for president and vice president. Come to the computer room, help us make our manifesto. We stayed up so late till the early hours of the morning, making manifesto points from kind of less expensive food at college, but then also puppy therapy for students. We basically just asked people, what do you want us to do? And we had so many different things. Some people said they wanted more rocky road. That went in as a bit of a sub point in the manifesto. Then we had lots of bigger things. We wanted to do college puffer jackets, which we ended up being, I guess, our first move in the executive committee for the JCR. And 24 hours later, on very little sleep, Abel and I were thrust into hustings, going against some older students, and we had the whole of the college sitting in the Wolfson Hall. And what I love about Churchill is everyone gets involved. People I'd never seen before were coming to the hustings, and I'd also had messages from loads of people on the lacrosse team from third year saying, Hannah, we're coming to the hustings, we're going to ask you this question, like, it's going to be really good, like, get ready, we've got some questions prepared. Like, it was so lovely to see that kind of community. And I knew as soon as we sent in the manifesto that, like, we had made the right decision to run. And although, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest experience to be thrown into Churchill College, having not even applied to Churchill College and only being there for about 6 weeks, we just ran with it. And I think being in first year as well, we were so open to ideas. We didn't come in with any pre-expectations. We just were like, this is our list, we have to do this. And then after a term, Abel decided, so he didn't want to be president anymore, it was the end of his term, and so he's now actually treasurer of the JCR, which is amazing because I actually didn't know him before we started. I'd only spoken to him once, and I just approached him thinking, look, he wants to do it as a joke, let's just do it and see what we can accomplish. And he's become one of my best friends, and he is someone at college who I know I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. Like, we get on so well. From that whole experience, I've gained so many new friends and so much confidence. Before, I wouldn't have volunteered a lot. I would have, but I think I would always be very nervous if I could do the job or if I was qualified enough. I would doubt myself a lot. And then once my term as vice president ended, I decided to run for president. And so in March, the results came in, and I think it was probably about a week before we ended term, I was elected president for this coming year. And I have to say, as soon as we all went into lockdown, Easter term went online. Oh my gosh, that was not at all what I'd expected. I thought I was signing up for more college events, more entertainment, students' union meetings, and all of a sudden I was doing, basically I just had to think outside the box. So I created this campaign, and this is just for Churchill, but if any of you are watching and you want to follow our Instagram pages, you know, this is where you'll be able to find all the information. But we created something called Virtual Churchill, which was where we ran activities every day of the week. So it was Movie Monday. There was a movie going on that we'd run on Netflix Party. Takeover Tuesday, someone would take over the Instagram. And then there's also LGBTQ plus going out, like a club night on Tuesdays. So we ran an LGBTQ plus movie for the JCR to watch as well. So it kept that like community spirit going, which I really liked. Then we had Workout Wednesdays where we'd share different workouts for different levels, especially one just for rowing because there are so many rows at Oxbridge. And then on Thursday, we had Thoughtful Thursday, which is two of the girls in JCR set up a page called Missing Chew, where people could post anonymous submissions saying they miss certain people or they wanted to thank someone in particular. I can't, some of the other ones I can't remember. Friday, I don't know, some of them just go from my head because we ended them at the end of term, but I'm sure they'll be on the Instagram page somewhere. I know on Saturday we had like Super Saturday because there were so many different aspects of the different days. But on Sunday we also posted photos of people wearing college stash, so it was Stash Sunday. And so on Sunday, everyone would send in photos of them in their rowing kits, their college puffers, the JCR like shirts from the old committees, and we'd post those on the JCR. On Saturday, we used to run a pub quiz on Saturday, and that was really lovely because people could do the quiz online. We release it on Saturday, and then that evening we'd show like the scoreboard, and lots of the questions would be like general knowledge, that kind of stuff. But then we'd also have questions about Churchill specifically, like Churchill College, when was it founded, who made the specific statues, what was in this specific email, what was the menu on this day. And it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. And it was a great experience of just, I think like a lesson going forward for anyone listening is just go for it, because the only way you can't guarantee you're going to get something is if you don't apply and you don't just throw yourself in. And a lot of the time, I think at Cambridge, students feel quite out of their depth because you arrive in a place where everyone is the smartest person in the room. And I think just finding things you love and just trusting yourself and being confident in your own ability is such a key skill. And such an aspect of that Cambridge has really taught me, like an aspect of my life that has just really developed. So I'm really grateful to that. But sorry, because we kind of went a bit off topic there, but I wanted to send about a message about virtual Churchill. So yeah.
No, I'm so glad. I mean, it definitely sounds like, I don't envy you the term that you've just had to deal with as being in such a high position, but also that it was such an unconventional kind of route that you took into that position. I think that's something that a lot of people will want to hear, that it's not, Cambridge and Churchill isn't all just like rigid traditionalism and stuff like that. So I mean, one of the things that I really picked up on from that was your pub quiz, which sounds like a fun event in itself. But you said about the menu on a certain day. Can you remember that question, or like could you tell us like on a standard day what kind of things do you serve in your buttery?
Yeah, of course. I just love the food at Churchill. I went in with basically no expectation because I just wasn't sure what food would be like at university. But I love it. If anyone is vegan, vegetarian, there are different options. There will always be an option for you to eat in hall. Please, don't worry. And we're working really hard with the catering team as well to develop lots of feedback forms. So if you love a meal and you want more of it, like the Rocky Road example, you can send that in and say, I absolutely loved this. Please, can we have more of this? My favorite meal is probably the halloumi and courgette that the college do. I love it. And it's something that I've tried to replicate in lockdown, but I have no cooking skills. The same skills that I originally had on my bike, I probably have less in the kitchen. But I love that the food at Churchill, there's just such variety as well. So we do have different nights. For example, Saturday, I think this might have been the question, was like Saturday was like Mexican night, so we have wraps and things like that. But then now we're also trying to open up so many different types of food, so lots of different food from different cultures as well. Like that's something that our domestic officer Jed is like really passionate about and something that we've really started to introduce. And the catering department are so kind. One of my friends is vegan, her name is Casey, and sometimes the chef will come out and say, I've done vegan mash, Casey, you can definitely have some of that. And it just, it's just those relationships that you develop with the catering team, with the staff members, with the fellows, that I'm sure it's the same with lots of other colleges, but at Churchill I've just found that I've really become friends with those people around me, and there's a huge amount of respect both ways. I have such respect. The catering department are second to none. And even at in the summer, I guess we didn't really get to experience summer, but in March, which I count as summer for Cambridge, they even started having like ice lollies and ice creams that you could buy. So at dinner we all used to have like Calippo ice lollies. there's a huge selection of innocent smoothies. And we have actually brunch on 2 days, which I've now discovered. Brunch on a Wednesday is going to be a thing for next term, I hope, if I can wake up early enough for brunch. And I love, the breakfast food is really good. There's a lot of like croissant and then yogurt, fruit, basically anything you can imagine, it's there. But also for students who love to cook, I have this obviously insane amount of respect because I'm not the best at cooking. I'm happy to put my hands up and admit that. But there are great facilities if you want to cook. So every kitchen has like a hob, a microwave, a toaster. You can definitely cook things like stir fry pasta if you're like me and can basically only just cook pasta, and that's a huge achievement. But there's also like lots of other meals that you can cook. And now it's finally come to me. The Friday day for Virtual Churchill is actually called Food Friday, where we'd share a video of someone cooking a meal that week. And we also have, we did a MasterChef competition. We did a bake-off competition. We also did a Britain's Got Talent one as well, but that wasn't part of Food Friday. But it was great to see people. I love to bake, I have to say. Baking in lockdown has been like a godsend, but being able to share your food with other people. I think going back, I'm really going to bake a lot more at college, maybe branch out my repertoire in the kitchen to maybe include like French crepes or something like that. But yeah, if you love to cook, there will be great opportunities. There's a boy in my year called Paul. He makes the most amazing food. And we had like a group chat of maybe 10 or 15 of us, and we go around every Thursday. And normally it was a Thursday, and he'd make amazing food, from like pork to salmon. He did sushi once, which was incredible. And then on Sunday mornings, we even did brunch one day where he did poached eggs, bagels. We had salmon and ham. It was second to none. So if you love to cook, I encourage you to bring, your pots and pans or your colanders or whatever, because you will be able to cook at Churchill, definitely.
And that's not something to be taken lightly, because I know that doesn't go for every single college. I mean, some kind of Cambridge colleges can just have like kitchenettes that are a bit more kind of limited for space and facilities. So that's quite good to know. And I'm sure you'd be someone who's very popular to live with if you like baking.
Yeah. I'm hoping people next year who I live with will love, pancakes on a Tuesday or something. But yeah, I have to say, Paul's meals, I'm got my fingers crossed that he'll live close by next year, but I'm sure those meals will still continue. And also even just cooking with friends. Lots of my friendship group, we did like pasta nights every week, where one of us would go to Sainsbury's and buy a lot of pasta and a lot of pasta sauce, so much garlic bread, and we'd all come and cook it together and eat together. And that was really nice. So I'd say that if you're worried about potentially with the colleges, you're not living in your own house, which is different to some of the universities, it doesn't mean that you can't have those moments of sleepovers in your room or chilling in the kitchen together or watching a film. Those things still stand. It just means you have so many more people to do them with, which is what I absolutely love.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's nice that you do actually have that choice between kind of your catering and your self-catering, which again is something that's not all across the board. So you said about running for JCR vice president and president, and you campaigned for having cheaper kind of meals in the buttery. What is that? What does that mean by your standards?
Oh, so basically, I think that was something that lots of students it always comes up. Students always want to see how much the price can vary. But I genuinely do think that the food is very fairly priced. I think for a big meal at college, like maybe for a Sunday lunch, it won't cost more than like £5 or something. It's really good. And the buttery is downstairs. So basically, hall is like where you get your proper meals. And the buttery is incredible for those days where you're not so sure if you want a meal, but you just want a panini or a snack or pizza or something like that. But no, I definitely think that the food is really fairly priced, and it all goes on your cam card. Everything's subsidized for students. And I'm not sure exactly, I'll have to ask all my friends, because they all know how much a pint costs in Churchill compared to the other colleges. But I think so far, yeah, we've all been really blown away with that. But yeah, I think being a university student, that's something that people think about a lot as well, because obviously you're living a lot more independently, and that's something that can really I guess, worry people as well about how much things are going to cost. But obviously there are already like subsidies and things available from the university, from colleges. There are lots of grants you can apply for. So don't let that stop you applying to Oxbridge, because if you get here, you deserve to be here, irrespective of background. It does not matter. You will be able, college or university will help you to sustain life, and you will be able to do that. So definitely, I think that it's also a misconception that maybe some of the meals at Cambridge could be quite expensive, because it does depend on your budget. It depends on how much you want to spend. Self-catering is obviously less expensive, I think, as an option. But I've never felt that the meals were too expensive. They're about half the price of a very good valued restaurant meal, which I think is quite good. And yeah, I think that there's also, with the buttery, they also do pizzas and things like that. So there's such variety depending on what you kind of want for dinner. Sometimes I'd cycle back from an Italian class, and Alfie, who goes to the class with me, we just order a pizza from the buttery. And that would be a really nice, like, I don't know, it was such a nice part of the week, you know?
Yeah, and really nice that you have that kind of distinction between more casual and then like proper dining. So I imagine that the hall is where you have kind of the notorious like Oxbridge formal dinners. Can you perhaps remember and describe to me your most like memorable formal experience?
Let's have a think. I think my most memorable one would be when we all got back in January. We all decided to have a formal for someone's birthday, and it was so nice because we'd all made such good friends with each other in like first term. Then we went away for a whole 5 weeks, and the holidays seemed to last forever without friends. You know, you didn't see people for so long, and then we got back, and I think it must have been because some people had mocks when they got back, so it was also to celebrate them finishing mocks. And it was just, I can't remember why it was such a fun formal. The food was just amazing. I ended up sitting with literally my closest friends. We had so much fun. I just think, yeah, the formals are really great, and also very well priced, I think, at Churchill. I think it's like £12.50 for like a 3 or 4 course meal. Like, it's very well priced, and the food is always exquisite. I've always been so blown away with the quality of food, not only at the daytime, but for formal as well. It really does feel like a special occasion. And my birthday is always it's very close to Christmas, so I'm never in college for my birthday. But for lots of my friends, we'd celebrate their birthdays with a formal, or a few friends would join up, so lots of us could go together. And I think that that's a really amazing option for students who want to celebrate something, whether it's finishing mocks, a birthday, or just because, why not? We also did a formal as a JCR for Valentine's Day, and that was really, really fun. I absolutely loved that. It was also nice because, obviously, I think Valentine's Day, if you don't have someone and there are lots of couples, it can feel quite lonely. I mean, I just thought it was nice that we all just got together and just celebrated being all together and just caring about each other. So that was really, really nice. And actually that evening, that might have to be my favourite formal, because that evening we had our first open mic night as a JCR, and it was a whole new experience. We'd never done anything like it. And so we borrowed a microphone from the music centre, which at Churchill you have like a music department, you can rent out rooms, there's a recording studio, drum kit, anything you want, there's rooms there. So that's a really great part of Churchill as well. But yeah, we borrowed a microphone from them, and Abel, who was the president at the time, we stood up there and we were like, okay, so who wants to start? And everyone who'd wanted to sing said they were too nervous to go first. So Abel and I, being absolutely crazy, just wanting to get the ball rolling, I think we sung Sweet Caroline, very, very out of tune. I have to say, it was the funniest thing, but it really got the ball rolling. And I thought originally we'd only had 4 or 5 people who wanted to sing. By the end of the night, 3.5 hours later, people were still saying, when can I have my turn? I want to sing this, like Britney Spears. Can I have the mic, please? And we had an order going. I ended up emceeing the whole night because we needed someone to kind of introduce the next act. I think maybe that had to be my favourite formal, just because it was so unexpected when we started at the Valentine's Day formal that the night would be such a success. So yeah.
Oh wow, the best things happen unexpectedly. That sounds so much fun. That was really lovely. And that chaotic energy reminds me a bit of I don't know, it's what I identify with our colleges, like bops are like dress up parties. How often do you have like the college bop, if you have those at all?
So we have like, yeah, so at Churchill we call them pavs. I think it's weird because there's so many different names for things, but you get used to it very quickly. My favourite pav would have to be the first one in Freshers. We had a dress up as your subject. That was so much fun. It was such a great experience because also you met people, but you kind of very quickly realised what their subject was. So it was a great way of remembering what people did. And yeah, I really liked that. I also think the pavs and the like bops, all that kind of thing we've had over the year has been really good. But at Churchill, I'd say we do one maybe every fortnight. I think the Ents for this year are planning. Obviously dependent very much on social distancing, regulations and things. We'll definitely run an equivalent or something like that at least every 2 weeks, with then activities being probably run every week, like a pub quiz or a movie night or something like that, something that people can really get involved in. That's also slightly more relaxing because you don't have to think of an outfit and things like that.
What's like the most memorable like dress up outfit, whether it's subject or something else, that you've seen at one of these pubs?
One of the girls dressed up as Boris Johnson on the first night, and that was amazing. We had people dressed up, all the medics dressed up in the medic gear. It looked like something out of Grey's Anatomy. One of my friends, Alfie, who does German, dressed up in his lederhosen. It was really fun, and it was just a great way to meet people because the costumes were so creative. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, I'm sad to have missed it. Maybe next time.
I'll have to invite you to the next one.
Yeah, I'll be the second rep for the lederhosen. Sign me up. Well, that sounds like great fun. So, I mean, apart from that, maybe it's just the rivalry, but I've heard a lot, oh, Cambridge nightlife is so dead. Like, whether you go clubbing or that's not your thing, kind of, could you outline, like, what's your favourite thing to do on a night out?
I'm so surprised by that. Maybe I think there definitely exists like a Oxbridge rivalry, of course, but I've literally never heard that. I'm so surprised. There are so many different nights out on Cambridge, so every day has a different night, maybe a different club that you'd go to. Very crazily, the two most popular ones are on Wednesday and a Sunday. At least in first year, they were the ones we went to the most. On Sunday, it's called Sunday Life. It plays lots of actually both nights do lots of throwback kind of year 6 disco kind of vibes, which I really like. And we also have Friday Fairs, which is like an indie night. If anyone really likes indie music, that was one of my favorite nights to go to. And then we'd also have special nights on certain events. So there was like a Halloween night one night. What else was there? There was like a back to school event, lots of different events throughout the course of the year at different clubs. We also have something called Grandma Groove, which I'm not sure exists in Oxford. But they play 70s and 80s music, so like the Bee Gees, all that kind of stuff. It's one of the best nights I have to say in Cambridge. For some reason, our college just loves it. I don't know if it's the same at every college, but everyone at Churchill will make it out for Grandma Groove, and Churchill just takes over the club. You see third years, you chat to second years, there's loads of first years there. It's so wonderful. But no, I think that it's definitely a misconception that you can't have a really good night out. I think that also the fact that you go as a college makes it even better, because for us, we all walk there. You have like a 20-minute chat on the way there, and then on the way home, we go and get chips, or chicken nuggets is a personal favorite from mine, and we all walk back. Also, there's always people to meet, people to talk to, and for lots of people, I think it's a great way to blow off steam. If you don't like clubbing, there is literally no pressure to go. If you don't drink, there's no pressure to drink. What I love about Cambridge is everyone's so respectful. I'm sure it's the same at Oxford. I'm sure it's the same at loads of other universities. Whatever you want to do, you can do that. It's very relaxed. If you come to a pub quiz but you don't drink, that's absolutely fine. If you come to a pav and you want to go out and you don't drink, that's absolutely, plenty of my friends do that, and that's absolutely fine. But I definitely think, I don't know, I come from a very small village, so I never had a very good clubbing experience when I was growing up. I guess when I turned 18, we only have about 2 clubs 15 minutes away, and And yeah, they're very, I don't know, it's a very weird mix of people. I don't enjoy at all going out where I am. But yeah, at Cambridge, I think it's really nice. It's very student focused. I've met lots of new friends from meeting them at certain nights out, especially at Grandma Groove, which I just love. And everyone's just so kind. Also at Churchill, if you see second years who are leaving, you want to go, we all just walk home together, irrespective of year. Like, it's so inclusive. So yeah, I think that if you want your university experience to include going out, Cambridge is still a place for you. Oxford is still a place for you. Don't discount it because you think that it won't be the university experience of other universities. We still have clubs. We still go out. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you find a way, don't you? I'll definitely raise my expectations a little bit. That's nice to hear. So I guess, I mean, thanks for giving me and everyone out there who's watching, such an insight into your life and your little college bubble. I guess it has been a real learning curve for you in your first year. So I guess the last thing that, I mean, just out of interest, I'd like to know is, what, looking back over your experience so far, what is one thing that you wish you'd perhaps approach differently?
I think maybe I went in thinking that I have to be the best at everything, and that's not true. I went in really, like, not worried, but like I had to, I don't know, do everything. And although I did a lot in first year, I'm not going to deny that, like, there are so many opportunities to relax. I also was part of that huge misconception that when you come to Cambridge, all I'm going to do is work, and I have no time for meeting friends, friends visiting me from other universities. I mean, even in second term, I went home twice in term, just at the start and at the middle, because I was feeling like I just wanted to go home, be with my family for a bit. There was also an opportunity to see my grandparents, so I went to visit them. There's so much more time than you think. And if I could change one thing, it would be to say to myself, don't stress about not having enough time. There will always be time, and you'll always get that essay done. You'll always do the translation, do the grammar. There will be enough time. And also, I think I didn't experience it in first year, but lots of my friends, if they were overwhelmed, I think they'd feel that they couldn't talk to anyone. But there are so many different people to talk to. Anyone on the JCR, whether they're welfare or not, if anyone's at Churchill or even anyone at the university just wants to approach me, I'd be so happy to talk to someone about work or anything. Like, talk to your college parents, anyone in the year above who does your subject. I have friends who are currently on their year abroad who I asked the other day about how they chose where they wanted to go, what they ended up doing. And also your DOSs, your tutors, your supervisors, everyone wants to help you be the best student you can be. And please don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask for support, because it's there when you ask for it. And yeah, I think just that support system is there. Everyone wants you to do well. And yeah, if you feel overwhelmed, don't be afraid to talk to a friend or a member of the JCR or anything, because everyone wants you to be the best you can be, and you can be the best you can be.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really inspiring, I guess, for a lot of people to hear who might, like you, might be having that kind of misconception about, you're just like your typical Cambridge, I don't know, Trinity maths student, where it's just like, yeah, work, but you feel like you're in an environment that's sympathetic to you being able to do other stuff and do what you want and kind of see people, travel around. That's really lovely. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and
thank you so much for asking me. It's been so much fun. I've absolutely loved it, and it's also a great way to I guess think about college, and I'm so excited to come back next term, and also, even though it will be different obviously because of coronavirus and social distancing, freshers will still be freshers, and there will still be an amazing opportunity to meet people. And I'm really excited of thinking really creatively about how to do things. I've already started for obviously the JCR, like planning our Freshers Week, thinking about parents, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just really excited to go back. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to just talk about my experiences at Cambridge. I've absolutely loved it.
No, I know how much I've enjoyed kind of hearing about what life is like for another college, and so I hope that people out there who are just like we were a year ago will have really felt the same and benefited from everything that you had to share with us. So yeah, I guess I'll talk to you again soon, but thanks so much
Wonderful.
for joining us today.